Good morning, good afternoon, and hello to this KNX Lighting Control webinar that we have here. We're talking today about the specific topic of KNX and DALI lighting. Also today we have a very interesting agenda. First presenting the topic about from the KNX point of view is my colleague Christoph Partuns. My name is Christian Stan, and afterwards we have also a very nice agenda. We have a very nice guest speakers from the company ABB and also NETxAutomation. So without further ado, let's get started with the topic. However, before we start with the company as such, we have to talk about some further procedures that we're going to have here. We're talking about, maybe you've noticed that you have been all muted. Such reason is because we currently have 79 participants. We're expecting some more to join, and if everybody would be able to talk, then we would have quite a big commotion going on here. Therefore, you're all muted. But as some of you have already noticed, there is a nice chat box in which you can write down your remarks and questions. But please also take into consideration that the questions will be answered at the end of this webinar. So after the last presentation has been delivered, you have the possibility to raise your questions to all the presenters from KNX Association, ABB, and also NetxAutomation, in order also to have every question answered. So let's get started. For that, I'm going to hand over to Christoph, my colleague, who is going to talk about KNX lighting and also the possibilities about interfacing as such. So thank you very much. Christoph, your turn.
Okay, thanks, Christian. So, well, also welcome also welcome in my name. Here's the agenda of the specific part that I will present to you. So it will be, let's say, KNX in general, of course, and as Christian said, then later on we will give the word to our member companies. So here's my agenda. So first of all, I will show you how a conventional lighting system, or function if you want, how this can be converted into KNX. Once we understood that, we can have a closer look at the advantages and the benefits of that concept, of that KNX, what we call KNX, what we call a bus system. Then we will have a look at the KNX installation in two different ways. Let's say because we can actually distinguish a collection of devices, and at the same time we can distinguish a collection of so-called objects. And with those objects we can do stuff. I will explain you what we can do, and in detail that will be what I explained there is a dimming function, a KNX dimming function. I will explain that to you in detail, and then I will end with just some general overview of the KNX lighting functions. So okay, let's start with the first thing. If this is all okay, I should now see the next slide. So conventional system into KNX. So how does this? So here we recognize indeed clearly from left to right. We see then the mains, of course, and we recognize here so conventional switches. One of them, two of them, three of them, and here an electrical consumer. Well, in this case, a light. So how do we convert that into KNX? Well, that's actually very simple. What we actually do is, first of all, we connect a number of microcontrollers, what we see here, to a bus system. So we connect them in parallel to a cable, to a bus cable. So actually, the actual conversion goes like this. So just every conventional switch here is converted into the combination of a microcontroller that is interfacing what we call a rocker, so symbolically represented by this pulse signal here. So we have to do that for 1, 2, and 3, so S1, S2 and S3. So all switches are replaced by actually microcontrollers. And also the light as such, so the light bulb here maybe is actually replaced by the combination of a microcontroller and this time not a rocker but a relay. And of course the relay as such is then indeed connected to the mains, or the lamp, of course, better said, is via this relay connected to the mains. And that is actually how we convert indeed a conventional triple switch function into a KNX function, so being the combination of 3 push buttons and 1 relay. So in summary, indeed the switch here is replaced by a microcontroller and a push button, as I said, and the electrical consumer is the microcontroller plus the relay. So I guess that's clear, and so now that we know, okay, how we can convert it, let's have a look at the advantages and benefits of such a system. So first of all, looking at it, so pure practically actually, so the cabling. Well, the cabling is really easy because what we do here with this green part here is actually we will put all these microcontrollers in parallel actually. And that is easy cabling. Easy means of course it's easier to set up, it saves time, and therefore the cabling as such is cheaper. It is also a very flexible concept because adding more sensors or adding more actuators or adding more microcontrollers is actually quite easy, and of course we don't only use it for lighting functions but also for HVAC, for blinds, etc. So that is definitely a very important aspect of this, of such a system, of such a concept. Well, the flexibility. And also not to forget, of course, there is a separation between power, so between the mains, and operation, because on this part here there is 28 volt. So that is there because of a KNX so-called KNX PSU power supply unit, and also of course here the actual interfacing here, so between the rocker and the microcontroller is even how to say a lower voltage. It's yeah, even lower. So it's really how to say there's definitely a separation between operation and consumption, let's say, in regards to voltage. Okay, the benefits then. So we have seen practical advantages, now some benefits because of benefits actually because KNX is means actually automation. What are the automation aspects? Well, what we can really easily set up thanks to this technology, to this concept, is things like or different aspects like presence simulation, presence detection. So is the room occupied, yes or no, example given, so we can really use that information in order to further optimize this technology. Astronomical time, is also something that we can include, so we can keep into account, take into account sunrise, sunset. The availability of daylight is also such an aspect. It could be that maybe the lighting systems are triggered from somewhere else, so from that there are some alarm conditions, etc. Timers can be used, so typical example there is the staircase function, of course, so where the light switches off automatically after some timeout. I don't need to explain, I guess. And then as last thing, so indicated here in red, well, because of the fact that the KNX is an open standard, it is really open for any gateway, so to say, so any, let's say, link, if you want, to another system. And one of the most well-known gateways from between, let's say, another standard or another system and KNX, well, is DALI. So there are a number of KNX manufacturers that indeed offer KNX DALI gateways. And all by all, the result is that we have so the benefits that we have because of all these automation aspects is well, we have safety, we have convenience, and also not to forget we have energy efficiency. So the combination of those three different aspects, we can definitely say yes, okay, we have a system with definitely important benefits. Okay, let's have a closer look at KNX installation then. So what I said is indeed we can see devices and objects. So first of all, let's just consider one device, so this rectangle, right? And indeed the KNX installation is actually a collection of those rectangles, so a collection of devices. How they are linked together, that depends on the medium type that we use, of course. Well, I already gave one example, that's the green cable, the twisted pair cable, of course. What's more is that, of course, these devices have data points. So a data point, so here this device has two, each data point that represents something. It could, example given, represent a rocker of one rocker of a push button. So if this would be a push button, it could represent two separate rockers, a left one and a right one. Example given. Of course, there's not only just that device that has objects. Of course, all the other devices have objects as well. And that is indeed another way that we can look at the KNX installation, and that is that what we see at runtime is just a collection of data points actually. The data points in KNX are called group objects or just short objects. So therefore my statement, indeed, the KNX installation is actually a collection of devices and at the same time a collection of objects. Now, in order to group objects together so that they can form a building function, we can indeed link those objects together by means of a so-called group address. So a group address is actually indeed a device-independent virtual link between those objects. So example given, if we want to link those three objects together so that they form together a function or a part of a function so that they can communicate with one another via telegrams, we need to link them together. So I symbolically represented the group address here as a color, so color yellow, group address 1. Could be that another collection is made by means of blue, so that is yet another group address 2. Of course, these are only examples, only to explain you the concept and the principle behind those virtual links. So I guess that's clear. Now let's have a look at indeed such a function. So let's make it concrete here. I want to explain to you dimming in detail. So suppose that this is the installation that we have. Suppose that these are indeed the objects that we have available. So let's see what could be a dimming function in concreto. So first of all, let's have an overview of the different devices. So here we see a two-fold push button. By the way, the devices are also here on the bottom explained, or the abbreviations, so that you can follow this easily. So a two-fold push button here, a three-fold push button, a one-fold switching actuator, a one-fold dimming actuator, another push button, switching actuator, blinds actuator, a visualization system here, blinds actuator, push button, dimming actuator, and another blinds actuator. So how could we make, what could be an example of a dimming function? That is where we see a collection of yellow, so a collection of group of objects under the group address 1, so indicated here in yellow. We could have, or what we additionally need is another, let's say another group of objects or indicated here in green, so under the group address 2. and yet another collection, well, only two actually, so two objects linked together via group address 3, so indicated in the color blue. And well, this could be indeed an example of a dimming function. So that means if we want to look at it a bit closer, maybe let's get rid of the devices that we don't need here, that are not involved in the function. So we don't need this 3-fold push button. This switching actuator is not there either. Dimming other devices, what was that? Also a switch actuator is not in the function. A blinds actuator, not there. Also another blinds actuator, okay. Then another blinds actuator, not there. And also this dimming actuator, not involved, okay. And then also the other objects that we don't need, okay, we just get rid of them. So now we can indeed have a closer look at this function. So what we see is indeed a number of objects linked together via yellow. What is that? Well, that is actually a function or part of the function that takes care of the switching aspect. This is 1-bit information. So indeed, these two push buttons here, so the 2-fold push button and the 1-fold push button, well, they have indeed, well, the rocker, if we just do a short manipulation of the, just a click, it will switch on the light. Of course, this has to be linked to the dimming actuator as well, in order to indeed close the relay, of course. And also the visualization system needs to be informed about that status. Is the lamp yet switched on, or is it switched off? Okay, let's have then a further look to the next part of that function, that is group address 2, which is actually used for relative dimming, and this is 4-bit information. This is also done by the push buttons, of course, and of course also needs to be linked to the dimming actuator. Otherwise the lamp, the actual lamp cannot be, you cannot dim it up or dim it down, of course. What we also see is that, example given, this push button doesn't have green, and that's indeed correct. You don't necessarily need green in order to operate the lamp. However, here these two push buttons do have green, so with those two push buttons, those two rockers, you can indeed, with a long action, so holding it for a little while, so instead of clicking, just holding it, sorry, you can indeed either dim the lamp up or dim the lamp down. So based on the 4-bit information that is included in the telegram. We can also see that the visualization system as such is not included in the green or in group address 2, and that is indeed also quite normal, because the visualization system is not interested in an intermediate status, let's say. It is just the visualization system is only there to have a final status. Is it on or off? And it could also be interested in, well, in this case, blue. Let's have a look at blue. What is that? Well, that's the 8-bit information. That is actually the value percentage, in percentage. So what is the status right now? In which percentage it is switched, or is it switched on? So that means what we can see on the visualization system is, example given is this lamp switched on to 50%, 60%, 70, 80, whatever. That's what we also can see here on the visualization system. And that is the visualization system, of course, gets this information directly from the dimming actuator. So therefore, we see the link here between the dimming actuator and the visualization system. Blue, however, we will not see this on a push button. That indeed is not to be expected, because we will not just sacrifice a rocker in order to send just one specific value percentage. Of course not. However, with a visualization system, you can also do that. That means you could, if the visualization system would be your smartphone, or a tablet or whatever, then of course you could use that function not just to visualize the actual value, but also to send a specific value. So the visualization system can indeed work in two directions. Of course, that also goes for yellow, so you can also, from the visualization system, just switch it on or off. Okay, so I think that's clear. So you, well, I hope at least more or less now understand how a dimming function looks like in KNX, how you have to build it up. So we have seen it indeed, 3 different group addresses with 3 different lengths, data lengths actually, 1-bit, 4-bit and 8-bit. Now to end my specific part, and then I give back the word to Christian again, I just want to give you an overview of the different KNX lighting functions. So in the same, let's say in the same approach as I have explained to you the dimming function. So I just start with switching. Well, it's very straightforward. You only need 1 group address, so for on-off, right? So between a push button and a switch actuator. Dimming, that well, the minimal requirement is that you have 2 objects. So again, between a push button and a dimming actuator, 1 for switching and 1 for relative dimming. So you don't need the percentage value, so it's not necessarily, it's not really required. Again, minimal, you need those 2. Dimming and visualization, I actually just explained it to you. So yes, so the group address 1 for switching, right, you remember, and green for relative dimming, so only between the push button and the dimming actuator, and then another link between the dimming actuator and the visualization for the value percentage, as just explained before. What we could also do additionally with in the context of lighting is to involve a movement, to involve movement detection. So there comes yet another device here, so MD, movement detection. So what we typically do is a switching group address again, where also the movement detector can indeed switch on the lamp. So if movement is detected, okay, switch the lamp on. So that is basically what happens here with yellow. Then, of course, obviously the relative dimming, as explained. And then there is yet another group address. However, this is the link. This is a link between the push button and the movement detection. Why do we need that? Well, it could be, of course, that we are in a situation where we don't want the movement detector to influence the lamp, that we don't want it to switch it on. Well, then we have to block the detection, and therefore we need indeed another link so to accomplish that. So therefore, the blue link between the push button and the movement detector. And well, yeah, that was it. So I give the word back to Christian. Thank you for your attention so far.
Great, thank you very much, Christoph. I think now we've got all the information about KNX lighting in this regard, which is of course very interesting to know, but in this regard of course we have the topic about KNX and DALI lighting. And for, let's say, the other side of this world, I'm very happy to have actually 2 very competent speakers here from 2 very well-known companies. And since it's basically not my job to present the slides of this company, I am now going to unmute the according speaker. And then I'm going to open the floor to Mr. Thorsten Reibel. So, Mr. Reibel, you have now control over the presentation, and I would say you can get started now delivering your part about KNX and DALI from the point of ABB.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. Thorsten Reibel speaking here from ABB Stutzkontakt in Germany, one of the 2 KNX factories in Germany here from ABB, beside ABB Buschega. Yeah, my topic is today KNX and DALI. I just have to find So wait to jump to the next slide, just a moment. It's not possible at the moment. Okay. Christian, maybe you have to enable here the control panel. Okay. I cannot jump to the next slide at the moment. Okay. Good, I see already the next slide, so maybe Christian you can help me to jump at the right time to the next slides. So my topic today, KNX and DALI, and I would like to give you a small introduction to the topic DALI. Then we come to our new components. We just launched this week 2 new DALI KNX gateways, a small overview. And then I will talk about single and group control. It's a very important part to control the light in different groups. And I will also talk about some applications together with and then I would like to come to the next part, ETS application. It's a KNX device and DALI KNX gateways with some interesting, of course, features. And then we have a so-called DALI Thrive tool, which allows to commission the DALI part of these devices. So now the slides are jumping too fast. Can you go back, please, to the agenda, first of all? Thank you. Okay. So I have no chance to control the slides at the moment.
Actually, you can. So you have the control.
Yeah. Okay. I just check. No, it's not possible.
Okay.
No chance at the moment.
Oh.
Christian, any idea how to do this?
Well, you just jump to the next slide yourself.
Yeah. No, I don't do it. No, it works, I think. Yes, it works now. Thank you. Okay, right. So good. So allow me to go back to the agenda. But good. A bit delayed, but now it works. Thank you. So, and the last step will be KNX DALI and emergency lighting. A short introduction to this topic. Takes around 15 to 20 minutes, my presentation. Good. So, first a small introduction to DALI. DALI, abbreviation for Digital Addressable Lighting Interface, is a very powerful solution for lighting control. Yeah? Any function switching, dimming we have seen already is possible with this solution. Light scenes, any light groups can be created. So it's a very powerful system existing already some years. And what you need are some DALI ballast to control different kind of lamps. So any kind of lamp can be controlled. And DALI is also an open system with a standard protocol, so supported by many companies which develop DALI ballast, DALI components to have this powerful solution. Yeah, it's not only switching, dimming and control, but also status messages can be sent back. For example, is the lamp on, off, or off? Lamp or ballast failure, very important feature, is also part of DALI. And as you need an electronic ballast for each lamp, we have also very silent electronic switching without any relay available. And as mentioned, I will come to this at the end, integration of emergency lighting is also possible in the DALI system. Yeah. And DALI exists already some years, and it's a very growing system worldwide in use, mainly in commercial projects. So DALI in principle, first of all, is standalone solution, but mainly, DALI is used together with a superior building automation system like KNX. Not only, but mainly KNX. And this was very important for the success of DALI. So DALI standalone, it's a solution, a small solution. It's for small lighting control solutions, but mainly integrated in superior systems like KNX to have a total building automation solution. Yeah. And what does it mean to combine DALI and KNX? We need a gateway. We need a KNX DALI gateway. And you see it here on the right side. We have here any project, any commercial project with some floors. And maybe for each floor I have a gateway to KNX to control all the lights. And on the KNX side, we will see in the next slide, we have all the other components we need. So we combine the standard DALI and the standard KNX into one complete system. And the customer is not aware of any mixture of systems. He's running the system as always, operating everything, and so a real complete connection integration of both systems. Let's have a more technical view to the combination of both solutions, KNX and DALI. You see here on the bottom the KNX installation. The green cable represents a bus cable and any KNX devices like sensors, like other actuators, like other applications, shutter, HVAC. DALI is only for lighting control, nothing else. And then we go via our KNX DALI gateway to the DALI world. Consists also of a 2 wires control cable and different electronic ballasts with different lamp types behind. Any kind of lamp can be controlled. Up to 64 electronic ballasts can be connected to one KNX DALI gateway. By using more gateways, you can extend the solution, of course. And as you can see here, also emergency lighting can be integrated. And then you can control any lamps individually or any group of lamps. And every control will be done by KNX sensors. So on the DALI side, we have only our KNX DALI gateway, which is also a DALI power supply, and our DALI ballast with the dedicated lamps behind. And in total, we have a complete solution for lighting control and together with KNX also for all the other applications. As mentioned, we have DALI KNX gateways from ABB, and we just launched this week 2 new gateways, a so-called KNX DALI gateway 1-fold. So we have one output here for up to 64 ballasts and a 2-fold device for up to 128 ballasts in total. Some features of these components of a state-of-the-art device nowadays. We need a power supply here, as it works also as a DALI power supply. You can connect any voltage in the world between 100 and 240 volt, AC or DC. The DALI output you see here is also safe against any high voltage, 230 volt. If you connect here the wrong connection, nothing will be destroyed. That's in a big example. The grouping of lighting, I will explain in one of the next slides. It's very important here. We are very flexible nowadays to connect any groups or to create any groups of lighting. And later on a bit more details about integration of emergency lighting here in this solution. We have in such a component very powerful, fault and status information. So if anything is wrong, if you have a ballast failure, for example, you get a feedback on KNX. If you have maybe connected too many ballasts, also this will be an information available here. Then we have some more features I will explain together with the ETS application a bit, special functions, turn off brightness, templates, and so on. And already mentioned in my agenda, we have such a so-called IBUS tool. It's an additional small tool you can use, or you have to use more or less, to commission the DALI part of this solution. It's not only for our DALI devices, for other KNX devices as well, just for testing, for commissioning, for monitoring of components, for the system integrator, interesting. And modern KNX devices nowadays are very powerful in hard and software, means the processor inside can handle a lot of functions. And one big topic here is to handle a lot of group addresses, to create communications, and also group objects. And you see here the numbers of group objects and group addresses for the 1-fold and 2-fold. So up to 4,000 group addresses can be assigned. So you have no limits in creating any functions here anymore. So it's a real gateway with a very powerful soft and hardware inside. I mentioned already this creation of groups, of light groups. I have here an example of 2 KNX DALI gateways, one with 1 channel, you see it here, and another 2-fold gateway with 2 DALI channels. And at each channel you see here a number of lights connected, and different kind of lamps or lights can be connected here, and we can create different kind of light groups. So what is possible? KNX single control, what does it mean? That you control each lamp individually. With switching, dimming, we have just heard from Christoph, so no problem, like normal other actuators on the market. Then you can create, of course, KNX groups by using the same group addresses for 2 or more lights. As you can see here, also overlapping groups can be created here, no problem. And the third option is here to create so-called DALI groups. DALI group means I create on the DALI side the grouping, and 16 DALI groups are possible in a DALI system. And this is marked here. It's a bit easier to program, and we have less traffic on the DALI side. It has some advantages, but in principle you can use all 3 options here to create any light groups with such components. Yeah, let's go to some more practical examples of creation of groups or integrating of applications. You see an extract from an office building floor, 2 rooms with some lights, of course, and each lamp here in this room is a DALI lamp with a DALI ballast behind, so controlled via a KNX DALI gateway, because we have here KNX push buttons and a complete KNX system as well behind. Maybe not only for lighting control, but also for shutter blinds, HVAC, whatever. So you can create any light groups, either individual control or any grouping, controlled in this case via the local KNX push buttons. Nothing special, standard in principle. You can extend the solution by adding, for example, a brightness sensor. The brightness sensor is installed outside at the facade, measuring the outside brightness, and depending on outside brightness, you can switch off another group of lights to reduce the artificial light in the room because it's bright enough due to the sun shining into the room. So in this case, we create here 2 groups, one next to the windows and the other one next to the wall. And depending on the thresholds you have programmed here in this KNX brightness sensor, lights will be switched off or maybe also on if it's getting too dark in the room. So lighting control dependent on outside brightness. We can add here another function. We add here, for example, presence detectors, KNX presence detectors in the room. In this big room we have 2 for each part of this working area, and then the smaller one only 1 presence detector. So if you enter the room, light will be automatically switched on or maybe dimmed up. DALI can always, can always dim as well. And if you leave the room, of course, it will be automatically switched off, or maybe it goes down to a low level only. Also, this is possible, so not completely switched off. Yeah, and such a presence detector can also act in our case here as a constant light controller. So if you have a KNX presence detector here, in this case from ABB, it's also light sensor integrated to measure the brightness in the room. And then via KNX, via DALI, a dedicated light group assigned will be controlled, will be dimmed automatically to have a set point, for example, of 500 lux. So we call it constant light control. There's a further option here. So typical applications in commercial buildings. So important is that all components you need for your control, for lighting control, all sensors and other actuators are on the KNX side. Only via the KNX DALI gateway I control DALI ballasts with the DALI lights behind. So on the DALI side we have no other sensors, no other components, and in total it's a complete solution. So these are typical applications together with KNX, DALI and lighting control. Allow me to come now to some features, software features you have to parameterize in the ETS together with these KNX DALI gateways. It's a KNX device, of course, so we have a KNX application available for ETS4 still. So some, of course, have still ETS4 in use, and of course for the actual version ETS5. And some nice features in such a software application software of our components. For example, we have so-called parameter templates for ballasts, but also for DALI groups. What does it mean? You can create a template of a collection of parameters, and you can use it for all other ballasts or other groups of lamps, so you don't have to parameterize it individually. If you want, you can do this, but it's not a must. You save time here to create your parameterization. Yeah, and then some other typical functions you find for dimmers, on-off switch, on-off behavior, dimming speed, dimming limits. All these things are available, as well as status information. Is the light on? How is the brightness level? You have seen it already in the example of Christoph in his lighting operation example. The same principle also, of course, here with DALI KNX gateways. But there are also some special functions like, staircase light is not a real special function, but blocking of a light, for example. You would like to disable a light circuit at a certain time. You would run the light on forced operation, means switched on with 100%. Nobody can dim down anymore due to any security reasons, for example. Or you create a master-slave dimming behavior. What does it mean? One light circuit is a master, and the slave is following directly this master in the same brightness level. So maybe also with an offset, so a bit lower, as a slave because it's not next to the window, so you can reduce the brightness a bit. Yeah, light scenes, standard function in dimmer, of course, also here integrated with 16 light scenes. And very important is what happens in case of any failure. For example, in case of power failure of the ballast or in supply failure of the DALI gateway. So you can adjust here certain brightness level for each lamp. So you have a defined, let me say, status or situation of each lamp connected to the system. Yeah, some more features. Integration of emergency lighting. I will come to this topic at the end. Yeah. Automatic DALI addressing. What does it mean? Can be switched off or switched on via ETS. If you connect new DALI ballast to a DALI gateway at the first time, normally the DALI addressing means also DALI addresses exist, like physical address for KNX, will run automatically. So a random addressing takes place. You can switch off in the ETS application here that you have this automatic addressing, and you can trigger this manually in this IBUS tool. I come to this in one of the next slides. It makes life sometimes a bit easier to do this instead of automatic addressing. We have so-called feature here, pause between two DALI queries adjustable. I don't want to go too deep into DALI communication, but the DALI gateway as a master queries cyclically all ballasts regarding existence and regarding brightness level. And the time between these requests is normally 14 to 50 milliseconds. We can change this to a longer period in case of specialties of components connected, for example, of any emergency lighting which needs longer time. So it's an adaptation to different components, ballasts on the market. Then further features like dimming characteristic can be adjusted. Turn off brightness or basic brightness you see here at this diagram. For example, here staircase lighting. You switch on the light. It stays on a certain time on this level, and then it's not switching off after the end of the staircase time. It's going down to a basic brightness you can adjust, and after some minutes or whatever to a so-called turn off brightness. So it's a kind of pre-warning here for staircase lighting. Burn in of luminaires. What does it mean? If you have fluorescent lighting, you should disable for a certain time, around 100 hours, dimming at the beginning of the lifetime of these lamps in order to increase the lifetime of this lamp and to have the best dimming behavior. It's also a feature in the parameters here. And very important, last but not least, lamp and ballast failure as a status information. So if any failure appears in any ballast or lamp, you have immediately on KNX the information and can react on this. So, and last topic before I come to the emergency lighting, we need KNX, of course, we need ETS to program the devices. It's the main part of the solution, but we have still this smaller DALI part to be programmed, to be parameterized, let's say. And to do this, we have a so-called IBUS tool, ABB. So our KNX DALI gateways can be programmed or parameterized or monitored together with this IBUS tool, especially for the DALI part. And this tool is not only for our DALI KNX gateways, it's also for other KNX devices we have. But for the DALI part, it's very important because you have to adjust some things here on the DALI side. And then in this case, you will take this IBUS tool, which is a normal software, small software you install on your PC. You connect like the ETS to the KNX system, and you have access to the DALI gateway and to all this up to 64 DALI ballasts. So it allows you to trigger functions, to read out some status information, and to check functions. And you can download this free of charge tool from our homepage. What can be done together with the KNX DALI gateways? So you have here some screenshots. And in this case, it's a screenshot of the representation of all up to 64 DALI ballasts. You can see here 6 are connected in this case, and you can operate each of these ballasts. You can see the DALI address of each ballast. You can change the DALI address. You can create any groups, DALI groups, not the KNX groups. I do it via ETS, but the DALI grouping I will do here as well. You can see the names of the ballasts or the groups you have assigned in the ETS. So it's an interaction between ETS programming and this IBUS tool. And also an explanation of each ballast with a legend here, what is actual status, how is it programmed, all these things are available here. And a very, let me say, user-friendly display, so easy to handle. And it's completely independent of the ETS software, so it can be accessed also from any end user to just to monitor something. Yeah, some more screenshots of the IBUS tool. Some more details you see here, also the option of how many ballasts are connected, for example. Is there any lamp fault? Is there any ballast fault visible here? But also each lamp is also ETS functions I have programmed will be visible here. Is there any additional function enabled in the ETS? For example, the staircase function or the burn-in mode is active. All these things are visible here and can be monitored. Yeah, and now I come to the last part, emergency lighting and KNX. Also here in the IBUS tool, I have a chance to check my emergency lighting, if it's connected. And you see here, this lamp number 17 with the green icons represents an emergency lighting. Yeah, and I can go to another page here, emergency, and then I can trigger also here tests. I come to the last slide to see is the system in principle working, is the emergency lighting working. I can trigger some tests here. I can check the battery capacity of this emergency lighting. And yeah, what is emergency lighting in principle? Some final words around this, because we can integrate this in our complete solution. KNX DALI gateway and our DALI system behind. So again, this picture you have seen already. We have here our normal lighting with normal DALI ballasts, and we have also emergency lighting. And what we are supporting with these KNX DALI gateways are emergency converter type 1 according to the IEC standard 62386, which is the standard in DALI for emergency lighting. And this means single battery emergency lighting. So self-contained emergency lighting with a battery directly at the lamp. And it's a DALI component. You connect like a normal component to the DALI system here. And what we are doing, we can operate these lights. And in case of emergency, means power failure, automatically these lamps will go on because they have their own battery to be supplied directly. Nothing special, nothing to do with KNX and DALI first of all. Our solution here is to monitor this emergency lighting. So we have to trigger the tests. We have to do continuously. So function test, battery test, and the test results sent by the emergency converter via DALI, via the gateway on KNX will be processed on the KNX side in a visualization finally. Yeah, so the monitoring of the system, the test results have to be stored in a visualization finally to prove that you have done the continuous test you have to do. And this is the task of this KNX DALI gateway, to handle these test results coming from the emergency converter, and to store and to process the data. That's the topic of the visualization. And this is a bridge now to my next, or to the next speaker, Wolfgang Granzer from NETxAutomation, who will take care of this topic a bit, how to handle this and how to store and process this data here of the emergency test results. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Thorsten, for this very informative presentation. I think now we've learned a lot from the DALI point of view, but now, as we also said, ABB was not only our only guest speaker. Also, I'm very happy to be able to have NETxAutomation here on board to present how basically KNX is put into practice with DALI together. For that, I'm going to change the presenter in this regard. Wolfgang, you already have control over the microphone, so you're now allowed to speak.
Okay, thanks a lot.
And we also now see your screen. So I would like to say good luck with your presentation.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the nice introduction, and also thanks a lot to ABB Thorsten for this very nice and interesting topic before. And also thanks a lot to KNX for providing this webinar. Yeah, may I welcome you to my presentation. My presentation is about Netx LAMPS module. It's a Netx BMS server extension for the management of KNX and
DALI gateways. My name is Wolfgang Kranzer. I'm the product manager of NETxAutomation. Before I start, I would like to give you a very short overview of our company. NETxAutomation is an Austrian company which is focused on software solutions for building automation systems. So the main aim of our solution is to provide an integration of different building automation networks. To achieve this, we are providing client and server solution. Our servers are called building management system servers, which are a kind of OPC server, and we have different management applications like visualizations, like energy reporting, or for example also for automatic shading control. Our customers are electric consultants, engineers and system integrators, and we have realized together with our customers and our partners more than 3,000 projects all over the world, and our solution can be used in small but also very important in medium and enterprise projects with more than 100,000 of data points. Yeah, also a very short overview. On this slide you can see here our solution. So the central component, as you can see here in the middle of this slide here, is our Netx BMS server. The Netx BMS server is our Windows software on the server, which has the aim to integrate different technologies here, as you can see. Of course, most important for us is the integration to KNX, but as you can also see here on the right-hand side here of this slide, we have here the DALI integration, so this is one of the topic for today. Yeah, the BMS server is just more than just a simple gateway solution. We also have access to different management applications, so we have visualizations, web-based, PC-based visualizations. We have special tools for energy reporting and also a special tool which is called Netx shutter control for providing automatic shading control. Okay, so this was the very short introduction into our company. So as next I would like to go to the topic for the day, that is the integration of DALI. Yeah, we have heard a lot of things of DALI today. DALI is an application-specific protocol for integrating lighting systems. We have seen we have lots of different functions there. We have the normal standard functions like turning on a light, turning off a light. We have dimming control. We have status feedback. But a very important feature of DALI is that we have some more advanced functionality like function testing. We can test the lamps and the ballasts. We have seen it before in the presentation of Thorsten. We have a lot of opportunities to make a monitoring of the status of the lamps. And also a very important topic is special functionality for emergency lighting. Yeah, but one thing when we have to talk about DALI is that DALI is a pure field level protocol, which means there is no standard solution how we can integrate it to the IP world, I mean to the building management level. But the good thing is that we can combine it with more sophisticated standards like KNX, and therefore we have an opportunity to bring the DALI world also to building management level. So here on this slide you can see how we can integrate DALI into a building management system using KNX, because KNX is still one of the most important and most flexible way how we can integrate DALI into a building management system. And if you have done this, if you have integrated DALI to building management, you can also make the use of the applications there. So this means you can make, for example, a visualization of your DALI devices, you can make a monitoring, and very importantly, you can make a maintenance of the lighting control. How can we do that? We need some kind of gateways, and you have seen it before in the presentation of Thorsten. We have here so-called KNX DALI gateways. KNX DALI gateways have the aim to integrate the DALI devices to the KNX twisted pair medium, and then we can use, for example, here an IP connection to integrate the KNX devices and the DALI data points into the building management level. Yeah. How is the data and information transformed? In case of KNX DALI gateways, all information from DALI and all data from DALI is provided as KNX group objects, as you can see here. What are typical objects there? We have objects for normal lighting control, like turning on, turning off a light, for dimming, but as we have special functions for KNX and DALI integration, we also have special objects for, like example, for making maintenance, like triggering a function test, like evaluating the test results, and also important, we have special objects for emergency lighting control. Yeah, as we have seen before, in KNX DALI we can connect up to 64 DALI devices to one channel, and some gateways also have support for multiple channels. Okay, so you can see if you would like to integrate DALI to the building management levels, we can use KNX DALI gateways, but in order to achieve this, we have to solve some challenges, because there are some challenges when we're doing integration with these gateways. First of all, we have to take a look at the KNX group object mapping for DALI. We have seen that we have a lot of functions and we have a lot of devices for each gateway. And if we combine this function and the devices, this would result in a very high amount of KNX group objects and a very high amount of KNX group addresses at the gateway. Yeah, and this can be, of course, a problem, and therefore, to avoid this, some gateways have data points or have group objects for each DALI device, for example, turning on, turning off, making dimming, or for example, providing status information. But some group objects, for example, for triggering function tests or for getting the test results, are only available for each channel. And if you would like to use or to see, for example, in the visualization, all these data points like test results also for each device, you have to implement a special stateful communication. And this can be seen here on the right-hand side of the slide. This is just an example, for instance, how you can find out DALI faults for each device. Since we only have group objects for each channel, first of all, you can see it here, we have to monitor the channel. So we have to read out, for example, using a KNX group read, are there any faults on one channel? And if there is a fault, you can see it here, yes, then you have to check each device whether there is a failure or not. And this is done by making a start test to the first device, then we have to evaluate the results, and then we have to go back to the next device. And this, of course, can be very complex and very time-consuming for implementation, and therefore we have to provide some special function for this. Another challenge, we have different KNX data point types. Of course, for the normal functions that we have in lighting control, for example, dimming, we have the standard DPTs, data point types from KNX, like our 4-bit object that we have seen in the first presentation of Christoph today. But if you have more enhanced functions, like, for example, triggering a DALI test or for getting a DALI result, we also have complex DPTs. As you can see here in this slide, as an example here, there is, for example, the DPT for getting the result, and you can see this is a 2-byte object, and this 2-byte object has different subfields. For example, here you can see this is the DALI address, or here we have a bit which indicates whether we would like to get the status of a group or an individual DALI device. And here, for example, we have here the bits for the failure of a ballast or lamp. Of course, these 2 bytes is transmitted over the KNX network, but if you would like to use this in a visualization, for example, or in a trending application at the building management level, this can be very complex for a system integrator because he has to split up these fields in the visualization. And even more, some, or let's say many DALI gateways have their own non-standardized DPTs, which means that each vendor has its own DPT view, and so it's getting more and more complex. And finally, for the last challenge that we have, of course, one advantage of KNX is that we have a lot of different manufacturers, and therefore we can choose from a lot of different devices. And this is also true for KNX DALI gateways. There are many different manufacturers for KNX DALI gateways, but only the standard functionality like on-off, like dimming, is common to all gateways, because, for example, for dimming we have our well-known 4-bit object, but for the advanced features, each manufacturer, each vendor has his own way how he implements the functionality. For example, some are using manufacturer-specific non-standard DPTs, other manufacturers are using stateful communication logic, which is again specific for the gateway, and this results for a system integrator who has to deal with these gateways, or who has to integrate these gateways into a higher level, like a building management system, this results in a very time-consuming and complex task. And in order to solve this problem and to make it more easier for the system integrator to provide an integration of KNX DALI to the building management level, we are now providing a new module for our software, for our Netx BMS server, and this module is called LAMS module. It's an extension module for the current Netx BMS server, and the main aim of this module is to provide a manufacturer-independent view of different KNX DALI gateways. This means after you have integrated the gateways into our BMS solution, you have a uniform data point view for all the gateways of all manufacturers. So this means that you have data points where you can trigger DALI tests. You see DALI errors for each device separately, so you don't have to split it up from the channel. You can see it for each individual DALI device. We have support for DALI emergency lighting, and also very important, we are storing the test results. So we are storing the test results of the DALI test in an escalator base. So this means that you can use a reporting tool. So we're also providing reporting tool for generating customized reports. And also to make it more easier for you, we also provide an automatic export from the ETS5 using our Netx BMS app. And as I said before, we already support multiple different gateways like from ABB, Gira, Haga, iPass, Jung, MDT, Merton, Schneider, and Siemens. So you have a full range of different gateways. Okay, as next I would like to show you how the workflow is, how we can make an integration here. So you can see it here on this slide. The first thing is you have to import the configuration from ETS to our Netx BMS app. And then after this export, you can import it into our BMS server. After this import procedure, you have then the uniform view of all the data points or of the different communication objects, and then you can use our BMS Studio or a visualization to provide a view to the end customer. And last but not least, we also have a reporting tool where we can generate reports, for example, for emergency tests. Okay. To see how it is working, I would like to give you a very short example how this workflow looks like, how this new module is working. For that, I will change here to my desktop, and you can see here I have here the ETS5, and here in the ETS5 I have a very simple ETS project, because here in my office I have some gateways for testing. You can see we have here some ABB gateways already, also support for the new ABB gateway which was presented by Thorsten before, but of course you can use here any gateway of any manufacturer. Yeah, since there is a lot of information inside this project that we need in our BMS server, it would be very difficult for the integrator to make this manually. Therefore, we have extended our ETS app, and after the release of this new module here, we will also release an update of our app. Our app is called Netx BMS app. The new version will be called Secure, because we also have now support for the new KNX Secure IP routers here. And with this app, you can export all the information from the ETS that is required in our BMS solution. So you can see here in this new version, we have here a dedicated, you can highlight it here with the pen here, a dedicated option for providing an export to our LAMS module. Okay, so what I do now is I just start here the export. So now our app is collecting all the information, all the configuration that it needs to integrate the BMS into the BMS server. We get here an export file. It's called an NXE file. I store it here on my desktop here, and that's all. After that, I can already close here the ETS, and then we have a small import tool. It's called just ETS import. It's a small tool which can be used to import this ETS export into our BMS server. So first, I will select here the export file here, NXE file that I've just exported. I can replace here, and as you can see here in this new tool here, we can not only import the KNX configuration, we can also integrate here the LAMS data that we need for our LAMS module here. Okay, I press here now start to start the import, and then I will switch to our BMS Studio. The BMS Studio is the management interface which is used to configure our Netx BMS server. So this is the tool for a system integrator to make the configuration of our BMS server. And now I'm starting here already the BMS project here. And after starting, it will connect to the KNX system. So we are using KNX and ABB tunneling to connect to KNX. And as you can see here, we have here the item tree, which is our data point view. So here you can see all the data points of our systems. And here under module, we'll find here a new entry called lamps. So this is the place where all the data points from our module are stored. And here you can see here DALI, and here we have already the structure. So this is the same structure that we have in the ETS, the building view here. And for example, here in this corridor, we have here the gateways. And as you can see here, we have, for example, here for this gateway here, we have data points where we can trigger tests. And very important here, you can see we have now for each DALI device, we have data points which indicates a fault in the lamp or in the device. And for instance here, when I use here this data point, we can trigger a test here. So when I make here a write to this data point, it will be triggering a test. And as you can see here, one after each other, the BMS server is sending a test inquiry to the DALI gateway, and the DALI gateway is performing the test, and we get the result here for each device separately. And then you can use all these data points in your application, in the visualization, or in the trending, or for example, the alarm management. So you see, very easy. And also here on the right-hand side, you can see here all the data points that are exchanged here. Yeah, so this is the first thing. So we have now the integration, and now as the last thing in my presentation for today, I would like to show you how we can make a report, because it's very important that you also have reports of your tests, because it's very often in commercial buildings it's required to perform reports that you can submit then to an agency. For example, for that we have here a tool which is called Netx Reporting. It's a small tool which can be installed on any PC. With this tool you can connect to the database where all the information about the DALI test result are stored. So I just make here login. Then you see here the interface. We have here different reports, for example, reports for emergency lighting tests. But now I would like to show you the test that I've just made before. You can select here which gateway you would like to see. You can also select here the date, start and end date, where you would like to see here the reports. And now when I click here on generate, we get here, for example, PDF file. You can also make here an Excel or different formats here, but for PDF, I'm creating here a report file. And then this small tool is collecting all the test results from our database. And finally, in our PDF here, you will find then here the results, and you can see, okay, this result was, this test was started at this time, and then you see for each device here of your DALI gateway the test results here where there was a lamp or a device fault. Okay, yeah, this was a very, very short introduction into our new module. As you can see, I think it's a perfect extension to the KNX DALI gateways that we already have. We have seen before with the presentation of Thorsten how we can integrate DALI to the KNX world, and with these gateways we can integrate them to software solutions like our BMS server, and in this software solution you can make sophisticated applications, for example, like triggering DALI tests, and then you can generate reports here. Okay, so thanks a lot for attending my presentation. So I would like to give the word back to Christian to introduce the end of this webinar for today.
Great, thank you very much. I think that was a very good presentation. Now we've basically learned what it is about from also the Netx point of view. And now, as already announced, we would like to go now to the question and answer session. So I had a look at the chat box already, and many questions have already been answered, which is very good. But there were still like 2 or 3 unanswered questions if I just go back. So first maybe I just show my screen. Can we get the presentation after the end of the presentation? Yes, you will get the presentations. I will make them online at a later stage. And once everything has been done, you will be able to download the presentations from KNX Association as well as from our guest speakers from ABB and NETxAutomation. Plus, you also have the possibility to also get the recording of this webinar later at this stage. All will be announced on our social media channels, so please do not forget to follow KNX Association on Facebook and Twitter. Okay, then there was another question that I've seen which has not been answered. So the question was just like, okay, KNX and DALI, why do I basically need it? Can't I do everything with KNX? Answer in short, yes, you could do it in KNX, but that is actually, let's say, not the only reason why you have to be stuck to KNX. One of the beauties of KNX is that it is an open technology and that it is also open to interfacing with other technologies such as DALI lighting, which is very common in the industry. And therefore, this KNX webinar was also in order to show those people that might be interested in knowing how this works, how this can be implemented. So we started first with how KNX lighting works as such, and then we were introduced by ABB and NETxAutomation on how basically the industry in terms of lighting with DALI is implementing that. Another question was, if I just have a look here, if a KNX DALI gateway is in a KNX network the same as the line coupler or a bus coupler. For that, because that goes more into technical details, for that maybe I shall give the floor to Christoph, who can give a very sophisticated answer to that. Christoph?
Thank you, Chris. Well, I can say, is DALI, does it replace, or is it something like a coupler? Well, definitely not. First of all, maybe I start just briefly with the coupler. A coupler as such, so a backbone coupler, a line coupler, they have especially the role to, let's say, optimize bus traffic. So that means they will just filter telegrams so they avoid that the telegrams would go around in those parts of a KNX installation where they have nothing, where they have no business. So that means it is just to avoid that just telegrams are going anywhere without having purpose. So that, I hope that's clear. So that is actually the most important role of a line coupler and of a backbone coupler. So that means in regards of, so coming back to the question, indeed the KNX DALI gateway is definitely not a coupler, because the KNX DALI gateway definitely serves another purpose. It serves a specific function, the function of lighting, and such function of course has nothing to do with the optimization of bus traffic. So, well, I hope that that answer was clear and also that it was complete. Otherwise, just maybe rephrase the question, or if you want additional information, just please forward it in the chat box. But that is for the time being my answer. So I give back the word to Christian.
Okay. Good. So I see, if I'm not mistaken, one other question. I think the question might be directed better to ABB, to Thorsten. The question is, which is the differences between the new DALI gateway and the other? I think that would be like in regards of the presentation that you just delivered. Can you maybe give your answer to this?
Yeah, no problem. So my target today was not to make a product presentation. The two new DALI gateways I have shown a bit are replacing some older devices, 3 in total. The best thing, if you are interested in some more details, we have on our homepage 2 other webinars available for these new gateways, also the replacement of older gateways in ABB range. And if you go to abb.com/KNX, you find these 2 webinars where you get some more detailed information. It makes no sense to talk about all the details right now. and so that should be helpful. But the new gateways are available.
Good. So that was the answer. Unfortunately, we have some noise in the background, which is like why everybody is muted again. Good, but nevertheless, although everybody has been muted, let's get back to the questions. So I see that also some other colleagues are already responding to these questions. So as I see the question, there are no further questions. Unless somebody wants to ask something, you now could do that. Okay, good. I see. Maybe I do not know if that is a question or just a comment. Let's say in order to use how to use the ETS software. Well, for that we also have further webinars of KNX Association about various topics, including the usage of the ETS. So as this topic was focusing on KNX DALI lighting, if you are interested in further webinars such as ETS, the usage and what you can do with this, feel free to also go to our website where you can find all the webinars, also including ETS short introduction trainings. Also, do not forget to have a look at the ETS eCampus, because that shows a very good introduction to how to use the ETS as such and how KNX also works. Okay, so can you explain recovery from bus failure or daily failure? No, from DALI, sorry. As I have the feeling that question might be directed better to NETxAutomation. For that, Wolfgang, could you maybe give your feedback on that question?
Yes, I would like to try it. Regarding recovery from bus failure, this is something which has to be configured in the DALI gateway. So in the KNX DALI gateway, via DTS, you can select what should be the behavior after a failure. For example, you can trigger a test, for instance, or you can change to a predefined state, but this is something that has to be done normally in the configuration of the KNX DALI gateway. Okay, I hope this answers at least part of the question.
All right, since your microphone is also, let's say, active, there's another question. Are all DALI ballasts addressed individually? Can you maybe also give your feedback on that question?
Again, this is something which has to be configured in the DALI gateway. As you have seen in the presentation of Thorsten from ABB, you can select in the configuration whether you would like to address a device individually, or you can make groups, DALI groups. So this means you can also address or send commands to a whole DALI group. And also from the testing point of view, you have always the opportunity to test an individual device on DALI, or you can also make a test for a group of devices. But normally, especially from a testing point of view, you always have communication objects for the whole channel. And then when you know, okay, there's an error, a failure on a DALI device on one channel, you can make tests individually for each DALI device. I hope this answers the question.
Okay. Thorsten speaking here. Yeah, I just would like to add something here. As Wolfgang said, in case of any failure, power failure, DALI is not properly working, DALI short circuit, we can parameterize in the parameters of the KNX DALI gateway what shall happen with our outputs, with our channels, our ballasts. So there are a big number of parameters to do so in case of failure and recovery as well.
Okay, I have the feeling there's a follow-up question on that regarding the test of an individual ballast in the chat. I think also the question goes to Thorsten.
Yeah, if it's related to emergency lighting, as mentioned by Wolfgang, if you do emergency lighting, and the individual emergency lighting can be triggered for test results, but also group of lamps, so or complete output. But in principle, I test every lamp, yeah, here in emergency lighting.
Okay. Good. Another question is like, is the iBus tool necessary for configuring the individual ballasts?
Yeah, in principle, yes, it's more or less necessary to use this iBus tool for the KNX DALI gateways, because you have to detect the DALI addresses. You have to maybe change your DALI address if you want, or you have to create DALI groups. Yeah. So practically, it's necessary to use and part of the total solution. Yeah. For other KNX devices, not really necessary from ABB, but here it's more or less impossible without. Otherwise, you have a lot of work to do, and it's much easier here.
Okay, Colin Price is asking if the new gateways are also supporting DT8.
Yeah, data type 8 is tunable white, so different white color, let's say. No, it's not supporting here.
Okay, and maybe also another question, I think that is also quite an important question. Do these gateways also have a programming button?
The gateway is a KNX device, of course. It has a programming button for the KNX physical address. But I think the question is, does ballast have a programming button like KNX devices?
Ah, true.
It's related to the electronic ballast of DALI. No. I've just, I think, made a small information around this. If you connect the DALI ballast to the energy first time, it gets automatically, randomly, a DALI address. And together with the iBus tool, I can detect the address, and I can change the address in an order you would like to have. Yeah? So it's very easy with the iBus tool, but the addressing itself is done more or less automatically without pressing any button at the DALI ballast.
Okie dokie. Then I just ask again to the public if there are any further questions, because I think we've already answered all the questions. If I'm not mistaken, in case a question has not been answered, feel free to write it down now. Just having a look at the chat box. And to me, I get the feeling that there are no further questions. Then at this point, I would like, first of all, to thank all the participants of this webinar for their attention. I think we had a really great... oh, I see René is asking something. No, we're not ignoring you. Could you please repeat maybe your question, in case we have one? Okay, just if I look back, you are having a question about the Osram master configurator. Here at this point, I think that question is addressed to KNX Association, or is that question addressed, how does the data handle its devices? The question is addressed to Thorsten. If you could have a look at the question of René. So how does the DALI gateway handle addresses devices?
So the question is here around this Osram master configurator. So we don't need this. We configure on the DALI side with the iBus tool, DALI grouping and DALI addresses, and the rest is on the KNX side via the ETS software. So René, I'm not quite sure what you want to do with the Osram master configurator. Yeah, okay, for DALI addressing, again, the DALI addressing is done with the iBus tool. Yeah? So change of DALI addresses if necessary, detecting DALI addresses, creation of DALI groups. Yeah. That's our iBus tool. Easy to use, free of charge, so nothing special.
Okay, good. by that, I think the question has been answered. Of course, if you have some more questions regarding devices from other manufacturers, you can of course have a look at their website, look how that all works. And in case you need any kind of support for that as well, you're of course free to always contact KNX Association, who can put you in touch with the according people. So first of all, sorry for apparently ignoring Renee at this point. That was not intentionally. I therefore would like to maybe repeat myself to say that apparently there are no further questions. I hope so. And again, I would like to deliver my deepest appreciation for all the participants, but also of course to Thorsten Reibel from ABB and Wolfgang Kranzer from NETxAutomation. It was a great webinar, I have to say. It was also very great to hear how it works from KNX side, but also to see how it can also work with an open technology. KNX, that is one of those major advantages that we have. It's not closed, it's an open technology, also for being able to realize solutions which might be more suitable for the industry as such, in terms of demand or in terms of what is asked by the customer. So KNX is always able to give a great contribution also together with other technologies. Okay, at this point I would also like to say, in case you have any further questions, even after this webinar, feel free to send an email to either one of those presenters that we have, either to KNX Association or to ABB or NETxAutomation. And since there is nothing further to contribute from my side, I would like to close this webinar here. Again, thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you a great day. Thank you very much, and all the best to you. Bye.
Also from my side, from NETxAutomation, thanks a lot for participating, and also thanks a lot to KNX and to ABB, Thorsten, for this very nice webinar and nice presentations. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks also from my side. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.